Hey everyone and fellow grumpy old gentlemen. We're doing our monthly video chat where we discuss a film, and this month it was my pick, and I picked 1985's Clint Eastwood classic Pale Rider, produced and directed by Clint Eastwood and of course starring Clint Eastwood. Clint was a machine at this time, probably the biggest box office star in the world, and from the mid '70s to very much the late '80s, early '90s. Seemed like he produced and directed and starred in a lot of films, like every year, sometimes twice a year. In the '70s, we had Eiger Sanction, High Plains Drifter, Escape from Alcatraz. In the '80s, we had Bronco Billy. He continued on with the Dirty Harry series, Pale Rider, Honky Tonk Man, Heartbreak Ridge, which came out a year after this one. And he never really slowed down until just the last few years. I think he's 90 now. I think he just had his 90th birthday last year. But always been one of my favorites. He's probably definitely one of my top 5 favorite actors. He never did get much credit, it seemed like, for his acting in films. He did win the Best Directing Oscar for Unforgiven, and of course that won Best Picture in '92, and Gene Hackman won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar. And of course I'm straying here, I just like to ramble. Pale Rider, I liked it, and I really enjoyed watching it when I watched it this past Friday night. I can't say it's my favorite Western by him, though. I know Harry, I think, said it's his favorite. James said it's his favorite. Ian really liked it, even though I haven't watched your review yet, Ian. I will after I film mine. I don't watch each other's reviews of our Grumpy Old Gentleman films until I do mine, just because I want to try to be a little bit original, somewhat. But good story about a mining a group of gold prospectors, and they live in the snowy mountains of California. And at the beginning of the film, they're terrorized by a bunch of thugs that worked for pretty much the owner of the town, Coy LaHood, and his son is played by Chris Penn, who done Footloose just a year or two before. Yeah, and during this terrorizing of their mountain village that they live in, one of the thugs kills this little girl's dog. She's like 14, 15 years old in the film, and brutally just shoot the dog. And when she's burying the dog, she prays for a miracle. And that night you hear like a rumble of thunder, and just all of a sudden a rider comes riding down from the mountains on a pale horse. And he's meant, from what I've read in interviews and other things about this film, that he's supposed to be one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. He's literally a ghost, is what Clint Eastwood says in many interviews. And you can tell by one scene in the movie, Michael Morte's character sees Clint take off his shirt, and he's got like 6 bullet wounds in his back, and they're all like in the dead center of his back, and it sort of implies that he's not all what he seems. But anyway, he comes into town, and he pretty much inspires the gold prospectors to stand up and fight for themselves against LaHood. But in the end, Clint ends up protecting him numerous times, and there's a big shootout at the end, and typical Clint Eastwood violence. But Mike, he mentioned on Facebook when he watched it, he hasn't done his review yet, I don't think he has, that it was bloody and violent. There's very little blood in this film, I thought. I had to look at the back of the box to make sure it was rated R. I thought it might have been rated PG-13 because there was a lot of PG-13 movies coming out by this time in 1985. I didn't think it was excessively violent at all for a Western, a Clint Eastwood movie in general. But I guess it got the R rating for the headshots, even though they were bloodless. I mean, there wasn't any spraying or of blood. High Plains Drifter was far more bloody than Pale Rider. Even Outlaw Josey Wales, I think, was more bloody than Pale Rider. And Outlaw Josey Wales has a PG rating. Yeah, overall, a 4-star movie. Not taking nothing away from it. I really enjoyed it. And the first time I watched this, I actually did see this in the theater in the summer of 1985, because I remember seeing Pale Rider one week, and then the following week, The Goonies was playing, and I saw The Goonies. Clint Eastwood, megastar. Great, lots of great cinematography in this film. I love the snowy landscape filming locations, and when I was watching it, I was wondering if any of those filming locations still exist. Is there any remnants of the buildings used in those mountainous areas in 1985, which was 35 years ago? I'd like to look on YouTube and see if there's any then and now photos from or videos from the filming locations. But like I said, overall I liked it. High Plains Drifter is definitely my favorite Clint Eastwood Western of all time. I wish I would have picked that one. Maybe we'll do a review of it later on for the Grumpy Old Gentleman channel, because I really, really love that movie. And he kind of plays a ghost in that film too. Very mysterious character. It just comes out of nowhere. But this starred Clint Eastwood, of course, and Michael Moriarty as he always plays aloof kind of characters in his films, but this one he pretty much played it straightforward. You know, his character was kind of a wimp in this film, I thought. Clint was all the time covering his ass, it seemed like. But good character. Carrie Snodgrass was in this. As I said, Christopher Penn, probably most famous for Footloose. And I'd forgotten he was in this film, because it's probably been 15 or 20 years since I've seen this. I had the DVD of it years ago, and I bought this Blu-ray used on eBay because I wanted to watch it. And 2 years later, here I am watching it, and it's one of the first pressings that came out in 2008. There's the Blu-ray new format warning label that it might not play on all players. Yeah, that's it. Box art. Richard Kiel, the big guy from Jaws, the James Bond movie, Spy Who Loved Me, and Moonraker, he's in this. And he starts out as a bad guy helping LaHood at first, and then he sort of saves Clint's character, the preacher, in this movie towards the end of it. But overall, it was a big box office hit. It made over $40 million on a $6 million budget, which was a lot of money for 1985. And for a Western, this was the first major Hollywood studio produced Western since 1980's disastrous Heaven's Gate from Michael Cimino, which bankrupted United Artists. But I think that's about all I have to say about Pale Rider, and looking forward to the rest of your guys' videos. I'll watch your video this evening, Ian, and hopefully see Mike and Harry's and Bob's and James's really soon. But take care of you guys, and thanks for everyone that watches. Bye. See ya.